My problem with Ange Postecoglou, yes, that's what we're going to be discussing in today's video. We're going to be talking about the Tottenham Hotspur manager and really just having a big discussion because a lot of people throwing question marks and kind of having discussions about him and his philosophies and playing style at the moment. But let's start off with Ange Postecoglou. When he came into the summer to Tottenham Hotspur, a lot of people didn't really know too much about him, including myself. Went up and read about his time in Japan and then his time at Celtic, his playing styles, his philosophy and his view on football. And I thought, you know what, I'm intrigued to see how this goes. And he got off to an absolutely flying start, playing this really expansive, explosive kind of football. It is so brave. Let's just say that. That's what I thought at the start of the season. Let's just start with that. And as the season's progressed, teams have kind of not found them out, but kind of sussed what their kind of playing style is, and have kind of gone toe-to-toe in some games. Some games have sat back and not pressed, but I think the game against Liverpool is a prime example of where a team outclassed Ange Postecoglou. At times, if you watch the game back, if you look at the goal kicks, because Ange Postecoglou always wants to pass out from the back. If you watch it back, Liverpool know this, so much so, they actually leave three attackers. They allow Tottenham, to leave their three attackers up top and only leave two defenders on them. So then they've got the overload with the press, so then an extra man in the press. They then press relentlessly and win the ball back with Harvey Elliott being the trigger in that press. And they scored a couple of goals from it, but I think that's been a problem for Tottenham Hotspur. At the time of recording this is before the Burnley game. They've lost 4 games on the bounce and they were in contentions for top 4. And it looks like that's highly unlikely now, depending on Villa's results and things. But it's been a bit of an odd season now. I can see kind of both perspectives, and I'm trying to form like a balanced argument here and give you some of my rational thinking behind it. But my problem with Ange Postecoglou is whether it's arrogance or naivety, but he's completely reluctant to ever change the system, doesn't ever change the style, regardless of who it is. And some fans say, do you know what, I really like it, it's brave, we don't show respect. But then on the other side, on the flip side, they've been battered by some of the big teams this season. We saw it against Liverpool recently. We've seen it quite a lot this season, especially against Arsenal. They were absolutely battered. And this is the thing for me, playing that style is all well and good, but when it doesn't come off and when it doesn't work, it is really bad and it's not good for confidence. And that's why we've seen such a dip in form. And Tottenham, for me, are building something. I get that, and I really like Ange Postecoglou. I think he was building something earlier on in the season. But what I want to see is a manager who can kind of change his style. If you look back and you're comparing some of the best managers we've seen in our time, let's talk about Pep Guardiola. Pep Guardiola has changed his system quite a few times. Now we've seen him play with a system with inverted fullbacks. Originally, he never did that. And one time he played with a big striker like he does with Haaland now, and then Aguero. And then one season, then he played with a false 9 and won the title with Gundogan playing up there. That just shows you how a manager can kind of change the system dependent on the opponent and dependent on the goods that he's got in front of him, dependent on the team that he's got. Same with Jurgen Klopp. You talk about the Jurgen presses. Early on in his career, he was full on going out, all out attack at Jurgen press, right onto teams. Whereas this season, we've seen a change in style. He doesn't have the front three that can do that, with the likes of Mane not being there and Salah not being as young and as fit as he used to, and Firmino. Now we've seen a different change in style, and we've seen a bit more of a passing style with this Liverpool team. It's still relentless attack, don't get me wrong, but it's kind of a little bit more, it's a little slower than it used to be and a little bit more methodical compared to previous teams. And that's why I think you look at those managers you're considered to be the top dogs, they change their styles, they manipulate the team, they move it around and kind of evolve with the times, where Ange Postecoglou is showing a reluctance to change whatsoever. And that for me is a big question mark. It's a big red flag that he's refusing to change. And originally I thought it was naivety, but now I'm starting to think it's a bit of arrogance, especially when you see him in the interviews. He's completely refusing to change his style regardless of the opponent. And that's a problem. I think you've got to, as a top-level manager, as I said, I've stated with Pep Guardiola, even with Jose Mourinho, we've seen Jose Mourinho in his career change his team regardless, depending on who he's playing. Every single week he's changing the system. He even used to change the system. If you watch him back, he used to stand, look at whoever was coming on from the opposition, look at the substitution, go, do you know what, okay, lads, and he would change the formation around as the player was coming onto the pitch. That, for me, is an elite level manager. A manager that can change, that can adapt, and kind of like a chameleon adapt to what its surroundings are. Whereas Ange Postecoglou has got a good system, don't get me wrong, and it's worked. He's had a very solid season. They're currently sat on 60 points at the moment, 5th in the league. Don't get me wrong, context-wise, and looking at it before the season, you think, do you know what, 5th place, that's a really good season for Tottenham Hotspur. But obviously that context changes as the season progresses, because everyone keeps going, well, at the start of the season you would have taken this. But then if you asked 2 months ago Tottenham Hotspur fans, would you have taken 5th? They probably would have said no, because a couple of months ago it looked like they were nailed on for 4th. They were looking really strong, and that's where I'm a little bit confused. And this is where I used to originally be sat on the fence, and now I'm hopped off that fence, and I'm now in the camp of Ange Postecoglou needs to adapt, needs to change, needs to... I'm not saying every single game or anything, but I think dependent on opponents, you're not going to win any titles playing this style of play. I can't see how you can win a title. We've seen it, prime example of Arteta. Last season was a lot more expansive, similar to kind of Tottenham play, but they conceded too many goals. Whereas this season, he's changed the system, gone more defensively strong, and you've seen now they're still going toe-to-toe with Manchester City, and at this current time, they're still within a chance to win the Premier League. And I think that's the big thing. I think if Tottenham want to win anything, you cannot win trophies by playing this way, playing this style of play, because it's too open, it's too expansive. And in knockout football, whether it be in the FA Cup, the League Cup, the Champions League, the Europa League, you can't play like that. And we've seen so many teams, so many great teams that we always say, PSG every single year have got a great team, but because they're not defensively strong and they kind of go gung-ho attack, we saw it when they had Mbappe, Neymar and Messi. You can't win trophies like that because your defence is left open. And I think that's what Ange Postecoglou has got to change. He's kind of got to have a look at himself and think, do you know what? Okay, my system, my plans, they do work, and it has worked all season. But do you know what? This game here, say for example against Manchester City, do you know, I think we should probably change the style up. Like this isn't going to work. And I think that's the big thing for me. I think he's got to show that he can change his stripes, he can change his system, and I think that's the big thing for me, and I would like to see him do that, because I do think he's an elite level manager, because what he's done with Tottenham is massive. The change that we've all seen, no one expected it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on him right now. I think he's done an absolutely brilliant job, but I think to go into that next bracket of elite level managers, he's now got to adapt his system, whether that be, because another thing as well, another part of what's really confused me is they've had some injuries. Udogie this season has been absolutely integral to them. He drops out and then Ben Davies comes in. Then against Arsenal, they try and go man for man and try and play this passing out from the back system with Ben Davies at left back. You cannot do that. That's not a like for like swap, and that's where I think a typical like elite level manager would look at that and think, okay, you know what, actually, I don't think we can do that. They played against Liverpool, tried playing Emerson Royale there at left back, and it's like, don't get me wrong, I know they couldn't do anything else. I'm not saying that the choice was wrong, but then trying to get him to play a certain way and trying to get him to play an extra role just adds to the more confusion. That's why he got absolutely bullied by Salah, because he was trying to play out from the back, left-sided. You cannot play right-footed players in a left-back position when you're trying to play that expansive football, because he has to come back inside and then into the onslaught of Liverpool attackers. And that's where I think that for me, if I can see it and if all the fans can see it across the country, same with set pieces, that's another one. Tottenham have conceded so many set pieces this season. Everyone's been pointing and going, that's not working, that needs to change. But again, a reluctance to change up, and that is for me where I just struggle with him, and that is my problem. I think he's he's a good manager. He's just on the cusp of an elite level manager. I think to become an elite level manager and to win trophies for Tottenham, he's got to change his style of play. Let me know though your thoughts down in the comment section below. Let me know if you agree or if you disagree. I'm intrigued to hear everyone's thoughts. But thank you for watching, and hopefully you understand what I'm saying. I like Ange Postecoglou. I think he's got a good career ahead of him at Tottenham, and I think he's really building some good foundations for this club, and that in the future they could win some trophies. But the only way they will, in my opinion, is if they change up that style. As I said, please do smash the like button, please do subscribe. We are uploading daily now on this channel, and thank you for watching. Remember, click that notification bell, but I will see you tomorrow for another video. Peace.